Hello and welcome to another edition of ProtoBalls Talk It Through Time and Space. I'm ProtoMet.
I am Barry.
And today, we're not even here.
No. We're
going on an adventure.
We're going on an adventure. No, I'm instantly reminded of the History of the World, I guess, video, where he's like, there's not even a where, there's not even a when. That's how every it gets. Anyways, so today we're not doing Star Trek today.
No, we're going to be revealing what the whole time portion of Travels Through Time and Space is all about. And if you hadn't already guessed, we're covering Doctor Who.
Yes, Doctor Who. One of the most beloved television shows in British history.
And one of the longest running television shows, though not concurrently.
Not concurrently. Unfortunately, the 80s happened, and that's a whole can of worms that we're not prepared to get into yet.
I thought it was the 90s that was the breaking point.
Well, the show was canceled in 89.
Right. And then there was just, like, practically nothing throughout the 90s.
There was nothing throughout the 90s except for the telemovie and the comedy skit that starred Rowan Atkinson.
And that's, by its very nature, not canon.
Not canon, but it does posit some interesting ideas. Such as the idea that the Doctor can regenerate into a woman. Which...
What are the chances of that ever happening?
No, of course not. That'd never happen. It's too risque. Especially in 2025.
Alright, for the sake of not getting beat up for misogyny, I am aware of Jodie Whittaker's run.
Yeah, well, I'm not the biggest fan of Whittaker's run, but
I've not seen it, so I can't form an opinion. I'm just saying,
yeah.
I know that, yes, the Doctor can become a woman.
I am not a fan of her run, not because of Jodie Whittaker herself, but because of the writing. Purely the writing, which is considered another dark time for Doctor Who. Which is crazy to think about, because people used to think Colin Baker's time as the Doctor was the only dark time. Which is rather unfortunate and unfair, given to Colin. But we're not talking about those people. We're going back. How far are we going back?
We're going all the way back to year 0, apparently.
Or 100,000 BC.
That's not what the time meter said.
Ah, damn.
Time meter said 0.
We're going down to year 0. There is no year 0 in world history, by the way.
And a lot of what we've already said about different actors probably won't make any sense to anybody who's only seen this story. Or only existed at this time and place when this story came out.
Yes. So, a little background for Doctor Who. It was the brainchild of former ITV and Canadian Broadcasting Channel producer, sorry, give me a...
Verity Lambert?
Not Verity Lambert. It was Sidney Newman. Sidney Newman, who had just joined the BBC as the new head of drama. And at the time, during the late 50s, early 60s, the drama department had both like adult dramas, but also had kids programming. So drama at that time was sort of an all-encompassing term to describe non-niche genres, such as like westerns or horror or what have you. Drama basically had a larger, over-encompassing title, and he had come up with the idea of a time-traveling series through time and space that would be mostly educational in its purposes. How wildly that spun out of
I mean,
control.
you can kind of see some of it in some of the early stories, but...
Throughout the first 6 years, they were mostly historical stories. But then by 69, it was like, nope, we're just going hard into sci-fi.
I believe it was 67 where the last purely historical story was.
And they still had stuff that took place in the past, so to speak.
Right, but you could say that about a lot of other stories. But by the time you hit the 5th season, it's really just if they're going to a past event, something sci-fi is going to happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
And eventually they had to replace their lead actor because he was getting old and crotchety.
And so the first person that they cast for this, so Sidney Newman was the head of the BBC, but the show's first executive producer would be a woman by the name of Verity Lambert. A very important person not just in British television history, but I'd say in all of television history, because she is one of the first female executive producers to ever be put in charge of a show. And she came out swinging, that's for sure. And here's the thing. So, Unearthly Child, this is the story that we're doing today. Unearthly Child. It's not the best story, but it was the only one that was completed, and it was written by Anthony Coburn. And they were basically in a time crunch, and they were like, this will have to do. We'll take it.
I know that the first story from the second season was also considered as a first story. But
yeah.
we'll get more into that once we touch that. And that's one that I feel has more educational elements.
Edutainment. No, let's be honest. Doctor Who in its early days was an edutainment show.
Yeah.
So the cast that they would put together would be William Hartnell, William Russell, Jacqueline Hill, and Carol Ann Ford. And fun fact, the only one who's still left that we still have with us is actually Carol Ann Ford.
Oh.
William Russell actually just passed away last year.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep.
I just been getting into Doctor Who and getting a lot of the Blu-ray, so I kept seeing him pop up, still alive. So I was like, oh, okay. So that's actually some tragic news.
Yeah, he had been suffering from Alzheimer's for a long time, and that last scene that he had, they had to coach him through it. And then I think, if I remember the story right, he started crying after the shoot because it was one of the few things that he could remember from his time as an actor. So he was like 90 something. Before Doctor Who, he was actually more well known as Sir Lancelot in The Adventures of Sir Lancelot, which was a late 50s television program on the BBC. So he had some pretty successful acting pedigree before Doctor Who. Jacqueline Hill actually was a friend of Verity Lambert, and Verity had to basically beg her to audition, because Verity was like, "You're perfect for this role. Please just audition. I swear."
I mean, she does a good job with her role in the stories that actually allow her to do anything. Unfortunately for
and Carol Ann Ford, this was actually this was one of her first roles, I believe, in television, at least. She had done, it's one of her early roles in television, but she had been doing acting for a couple of years. She was only 23 here, which she doesn't really look it, but that's mostly because of probably the black and white. It doesn't really show age very well for black and white television.
She still looked pretty young.
Young. She was 23, and yeah. And then we have, of course, our main character, the enigmatic Doctor, who at this time we know nothing about. All we know is that he's a mysterious old man.
And he's very crotchety.
Carol Ann Ford's character, Susan Foreman, is his granddaughter, at least, or so we're allegedly.
He keeps calling her that.
So we just have to take them at their word. And he, of course, plays the Doctor. An iconic character, Hartnell. Hartnell had a long career of acting. He was only 50 when he took the role. And he also had to be convinced of it, because Verity Lambert and the director for the serial, Waris Hussein, they thought he would be perfect for the role, but he had to be convinced, because he was like, he didn't really want to do it. He didn't really get it until it was like, they had to convince him that the character was like, he's mischievous, but he's also like a good guy, and he's more like Father Christmas. What was it? It was Father Christmas and like another character, the Wizard of Oz and Father Christmas mixed together. sort of. I think it was the way they pitched it to him.
I know he took the role because he wanted to play like a grandfatherly character,
Yes,
which is what he wasn't known for at the time.
I think his most famous characters at the time were all like gruff, like drill sergeants and military characters who had to be leaders and took no nonsense and stuff. And then his portrayal in Doctor Who is so much different from what he had done before. And this is, unfortunately, one of his last acting roles, because by this time he had started contracting arteriosclerosis, which hurt his memory and his ability to do long shoots, which is what eventually led to the events that the series becomes famous for later on. So we have our principal cast of characters. William Russell is Ian Chesterton. He is a he's a science teacher.
He's a science teacher.
He's our science teacher. And then Jacqueline Hill is Miss Barbara Wright, the history teacher of the Coal Hill School in, I believe, London? It's somewhere in the London suburbs. So, those are our four main characters. We got the Doctor, Ian Chesterton, Barbara Wright, and Susan Foreman.
So the first episode, titled An Unearthly Child, opens with a shot of going into a junkyard and finding a police box.
Oh, yes. And you know, and as iconic as this opening is, it's actually very iconic. What's crazier is that what preceded this in the original airing, don't know if you know this or not, was that the day before, here's the thing, the day before Doctor Who originally aired was the assassination of John F. Kennedy, which really overshadowed the show, and it's primarily responsible for why the first airing actually got low ratings, to the point where they had the first episode re-aired the next week. So they delayed the full serial by a week because JFK had died.
Yeah, what unfortunate timing.
Yeah. Does not bode well for the series at large. Misfortune follows in its wake.
You never know, considering how long-lived it is.
Yeah, right? So yes, we start with...
Also, it's kind of funny how now a police box is more well-known for being part of Doctor Who than anything else, because at the time, it was a common sight in Britain.
Yes.
Now, not so much.
They started getting rid of them, I believe, in the mid-70s. And then I think the last one that was in service was like the mid-80s. And then the Metropolitan Police actually sued BBC over it. And BBC won, because the police box is more associated with Doctor Who than the Metropolitan Police now.
It's just kind of an ironic thing, because as it's revealed in the second episode, the shape that it takes is actually meant to blend in with its surrounding. It's not supposed to stand out, but it got stuck in that form, and so now it became an iconic part of the series, and people who have no knowledge of this would just assume that that's how it's always supposed to have looked.
Yeah, we don't know what the TARDIS, which is what it's called, time and relative dimension in space, we don't know what it's supposed to look like. We have ideas throughout other serials of what it might have looked like in its neutral form, which is likely just a tube with like a sliding door opening, but we're never we don't know what it actually looks like. That's just the form it takes in the environment that it's in. So,
yeah, opens up on a shot of a police box in a junkyard before getting to Coal Hill High School.
Yes, and we also should probably talk about that both of this opening is the same in both the pilot and in the actual aired film. There are a couple of key differences between the pilot and the actual episode.
I actually did rewatch both the pilot and the first episode in preparation for this, and noticed that they were completely redone between the two.
Yes.
So like, while the structure of everything is still present, there are noticeable differences between the two, because
the story beats are all the same, The problem is that the characterizations are different, particularly between the Doctor and Susan. Not to put too fine a point on it, the Doctor in the pilot, he's an asshole. Not to say he's not in the regular serial, but like in the pilot, he's even more of an asshole. Whereas like the best way of putting the Doctor here is he's like Loki. He's very much a Loki figure in these early serials. He's very mischievous. He knows what he wants, and he's willing to go down to subterfuge to get what he wants.
As evidenced by the next story.
Yes, exactly. So, Ian Chesterton and Barbara Wright, they are conversing with one another because one of their students, Susan Foreman, is left behind in another room to get a book later on.
Yeah.
It's like a history of the French Revolution, I believe.
I keep remembering her name. Barbara.
Barbara. Yeah.
Why do I keep forgetting Barbara's name? I don't know.
Come on, dude.
I know. It's like, it's right there. It's like, for some reason, I always gotta think, okay, what's the guy's name? Ian and Barbara. Okay.
Ian and Barbara.
But she's going to be lending Susan a book on French Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
But she and Ian get to talking and discussing how peculiar Susan is.
Susan is just an odd girl because she has moments where she's incredibly brilliant, and then there's others where it seems like nobody knows what the hell she's talking about. Like, the UK being in the metric system, which they're not. They're in the imperial system, which us Americans are also used. So instead of meters and kilometers is miles and whatnot.
Well, I think the best display of it was her not realizing that how many shillings go into a pound.
Yes, how many shillings go into a pound, she doesn't know.
Because she's going by base 10,
Mm-hmm.
which is not... It's like, do they do that now? Did they switch to the decimal system?
I don't know. I don't know when they switched to the decimal and metric system. I can't remember.
Because I feel like that's what they did switch to that with regards to currency, which, you know, if we're not British, so I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then Susan was definitely prophetic, which...
I mean, yeah.
helps in hindsight.
It's kind of crazy how, like, we talk about, you know, sometimes Star Trek accidentally predicts the future, and The Simpsons is notorious for accidentally predicting the future. Sometimes Doctor Who does as well. It's crazy. How many shillings in a pound? 20 shillings in a pound.
So no, they're not in the decimal system just yet.
Yes. Until 1971, British money was divided up into pounds, shillings, and pence. So they changed the currency standards in, like, 1971.
So it's a bit closer to the decimal system than it was before.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
There's also the very interesting scene where, like, Ian proposes a three-pronged equation for his students to solve. And
Susan is like, I can't solve with just 3 of them. We need 5.
Yeah, you need all 5. You need X, Y, Z, time, and space. Which I don't know what those equations would be. Maybe. I think.
I mean, to be fair, we're talking about a scene explicitly showing this character with, you know, extrasensory knowledge.
Right. Well.
So maybe it's a case of we as humans can't perceive what she's talking about.
Right, I suppose so. But I think time is actually the theory of general relativity. I think it would just be E. E is time, then. Which, still, you can still solve problems, but with just the 3. But it would, I guess, it just doesn't work in her mind.
I'm no math guy, so I don't know. I couldn't solve the equation.
Hey now, Ian's the math guy.
Yes.
He's also the science guy. And the tough guy.
More on that later.
More on that later. 'Cause he's pretty badass throughout the series.
Admittedly.
But, yeah, they're very confused about about Susan because she's extremely brilliant, but half the time she also doesn't seem interested in the work. It just doesn't seem like she's interested or she doesn't care. Which, that's a mood. That's a real mood, honestly.
Barbara also at one point mentioned getting her into like a special class, which Susan was initially excited about until learning that Barbara had wanted to talk with her grandfather about it. And then Susan was like, oh, no, never mind.
Nope,
no,
can't talk to
that's not happening.
Yeah, and Barbara's like, yeah, so I asked the secretary for the address to the grandfather's place.
And I got there, and it was just a junkyard.
It was just a junkyard. Foreman's junkyard.
I mean, even he was like, are you sure you got the right address? I checked. You had a bunch of buildings on one side. You had a bunch of buildings on another. And right in the middle, the address I was given, junkyard.
Yeah, it's a one-way street. It ends at a junkyard. There's a dead end there. There's nothing you can do.
Just there.
It's just there. And so Ian's perplexed. And he's like, he wonders, it's like, okay, well, maybe the grandfather works there, or maybe he's just a weird old coot.
I mean, Susan also had mentioned that her grandfather was not very much a people person.
Yes.
Which is kind of ironic when you consider it. But
yes. Doctor, infamously not a people person.
But so then they decide to basically stake out the junkyard.
They stalk her home. They watch they watch her go into the junkyard.
Well, first off, Barbara gives Susan the book she was requesting, and then we get a weird scene that varies between the pilot and the final version.
Yeah, there's a very weird scene in the pilot.
In the aired episode, she's reading through the book on the French Revolution and is like, what? That's not right.
That's not how that happened. And in the original pilot, she starts doing a bunch of
like a Rorschach ink blot.
Yeah, which
spread.
Which is funny because one of the notes when they originally showed the pilot to Sidney Newman, I think one of his notes, in that scene in particular, was just a bunch of question marks. It was just like, what? What is happening here? This doesn't make any sense.
I know that the whole point of the scene was it's supposed to be a bit weird, but if you're gonna make something weird, you gotta at least give a reason why it is weird.
You know what it is?
There's gotta be some explanation as to why it's not weird for the person.
Right. So what it is, because the aired episode, that one's fine. You know, that's not how that happened. That's okay. The pilot episode, it verges into avant-garde, where it's like, what are we supposed to interpret from this?
I mean, admittedly, when I rewatched this serial the first time this year, after years of having not watched it, I actually didn't realize that it was the pilot episode I was watching first.
Yep.
So I'm here with like all this sort of virtual hindsight about about various aspects of the Doctor that come out in later, and I'm like, how does this apply to anything?
Yeah. What does this mean? What is happening? The pilot's a trip.
But now that I realize that scene's only in the pilot, I was like, yeah, no, that was just a weird scene.
That was a weird scene that got cut immediately. The other thing they also changed was the wardrobe. I don't know if you noticed that at all or not.
I wasn't really paying too much attention about what everybody was wearing.
Right. Yeah, they slightly changed the wardrobe.
Like, as soon as I noticed that they had refilmed everything, I just kind of was like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, they slightly changed the wardrobe for the Doctor in particular. They also changed his whole demeanor, and that's something we'll get into right now. So Ian and Barbara, they go into the junkyard and they find the police box, and they're like, what the hell is this?
This is after they see Susan going into the junkyard and then just not coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So they decide to go investigate.
And they find the police box, and they're like, what the heck is this?
It's like, what's a police box doing here? Whatever, it's a junkyard. It's probably just junk.
But
Where'd she go? Where did she go?
But it's alive! It's humming! Then, yeah. Which, yeah. The TARDIS is a machine. It's a spaceship. It's also alive. This is all canon throughout the entire series. It's also sentient. That's a thing that gets brought up later.
Right.
But for now, all we know is it's a police box and it's humming.
But when they hear somebody coming, they decide to hide, and in comes the doctor.
He is a crotchety old man, but also very mischievous, and he's
like just as he's opening the police box, and Susan responds to him. Ian jumps on. Is like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
Like,
what? Right.
What are you talking? Who are you? This is private property.
This is private. No, it's just like from Monty Python, you know, when the policeman comes in. Right. What's all this then? All right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm Tiger of the Yard. There's a tiger in the yard. What
do you mean we?
Yeah, what do you mean we? What is the joke from Monty Python? There's a tiger behind you, I think it was. And he goes, where? Oh, never mind. Oh, my name. That's right. Yes. And then they have I know there's another character they have where it's like there's a bear behind you, and he's just like, not gonna get in with that one. Anyways, sorry, it's a Monty Python bit. But, yeah, so the doctor's just like, oh, okay, trespassing on private property, are you?
And stalkers to boot.
Well,
there's nobody here. You can just run along.
Run along, be on your way. Go ahead, get the police, see what happens.
Well, you're coming with us. No.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Can't compel me.
Oh, don't want to come along? Well, it's not like I'm going to leave. I want to see your faces when you show up and there's nothing.
Yeah, it's like, he correctly posits. He's like, there's only one way out. What am I going to do? Slip off into the night? Go ahead, see your faces when you're made a fool of.
Unfortunately, Susan decides to come and check what's going on, which then gives Ian and Barbara the chance to slip into the box.
Which is a spaceship, which is bigger on the inside.
There actually is an explanation that this slideshow that's included on the second season Blu-ray set. It explains that it's basically like the box is a doorway, and the rest of it is inside the fourth dimension.
Yes, that's how it works. I know in the fourth Doctor, he tries explaining the principles of the TARDIS to Leela, who is for lack of a better term, is kind of a savage. And he goes, all right, so take a look at this box, right? It's pretty small right now, but if I back it up and take another box right next to it, which is closer but a smaller box, they're both the same size. That's kind of how the principle works. This is a bigger box, but the smaller one, if I take the bigger box back, it's the same size now. That's how it works. Which is a very confusing explanation, but basically the principle is, the smaller box is on the outside. You take the bigger box, you shift it back in space, it's now the same size because of perspective, and then you jam the bigger box into the smaller box at the same space, so they match. Which is very confusing again.
I think the slide did a better job of explaining it.
The slide
and that was for kids. Yeah. Little kids.
The fourth Doctor's way of explaining it even confuses Leela, and it's just like, huh? Okay, I'm just gonna take your word for it.
Yeah. But that's not explained here. It's just this is a bigger space inside. It is a spaceship.
It's a spaceship that can transform its outer perimeter. Basically.
It's also a time machine.
And they're like, you're pulling us. Pull the other one. As the old Monty Python would say.
I think at some point Susan's just like, just let them go. They're not going to say anything.
And of course the Doctor's just like, oh no, if I let them go, they'll bring reporters, they'll say something to the press, and then we'll be a public spectacle. No, they can't be allowed to leave. We must take them with us. And we must have their eternal silence. And it's like, that's very foreboding.
It's like, I never should have let you go to that school.
Never should have let you go to that school.
It was a bad idea. I was against it from the start, but you insisted.
Oh, yes.
You're my granddaughter, so I acceded to your demands.
Yes.
And look where it's got us.
Look where it's got me. See how this affects me. That's really kind of how the Doctor is in the early serials. He's like, how does this affect me?
I'm a selfish asshole.
I'm a selfish asshole. Because I haven't learned about compassion yet. I mean, it's been there under the surface, but really it's because he hasn't been around people for long enough to really have compassion.
Like, he definitely feels like a bit of a loner early on.
Oh, especially in the one scene, I believe in the 3rd episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that one is like, wow, that is so out of character for
That's
him.
so dark. That's like something straight out of the 7th Doctor, which I don't know if you've seen any yet or not. But
not yet, no.
Yeah, it's that dark.
You know, I'm currently watching my way through the 2nd Doctor, but I have seen the 9th Doctor's run, which is actually how I got into the series in the first place. So
that's how I was introduced to it as well, because I was growing up back then, and then we used to have BBC America. Was that before or after we got Dish?
That would after you got Dish,
Yeah.
because I know I saw the 9th Doctor on Sci-Fi Channel.
That's right, it was on Sci-Fi. That's right, they had it, I think, on, what was it, Saturdays?
And I just happened to catch the first episode, and it caught my interest, so I kept watching.
Right.
And then I fell off for a number of years.
And then he bought the first Doctor's trio set and then gave it to me because he's like, I don't watch this anymore. You can have it. And I watched the shit out of. Listen, I've watched the shit out of Unearthly Child, The Daleks, and Brink of Destruction. Those are like it's my favorite trio of stories.
And now I'm finally getting around to actually working my way through the series properly.
Yes.
I think my big stumbling block was knowing that not all of it was there. Due to a lot of lost episodes, but now thanks to like audio reconstructions and animation, I'm now able to better watch the series. And
it is a miracle that we have the first 3 serials. Actually, it's a miracle that we have most of the first season at all. BBC had a policy in the late 50s all the way to the late 60s. It was about 15-year policy that they had, where any old episodes of programs that they weren't planning on airing anymore, they would wipe the masters and then reuse the tape.
So yeah, that's why a lot of the first 6 seasons are just gone.
Almost, yeah, the entire, every episode of the color original series, all of that's available. Shada, they had to do couple of stuff because that got
but that was only because that story wasn't even finished.
Yeah, that story never got released, which by the way, fun fact, was
you can't say it never got released when it has got released. It never got released at the time it was intended.
It never got completed originally. Which fun fact, Shada was written by Douglas Adams, yes. and you could certainly tell it was written by Adams.
I've read a number of his books. Yes.
He's got that little bit of cheeky humor to it that he is very famous for. But backing up, the black and white original 60s episodes, there is about 67 episodes that are missing, I believe.
I have not done the calculation.
There's at least 60 plus episodes, some almost entire serials, including the Dalek Master Plan, which is a 12-part serial in the 3rd season.
Yes. I don't know if it was 12 episodes. It may have been 10.
It might have been 10.
I just know that, there's, one episode right smack in the middle that feels out of place.
You know what? No, it's 12 episodes because the War Games is 10, and that one is the second longest behind the Dalek Master Plan.
Okay.
But there's a lot of missing episodes, and it's all primarily late First Doctor, early Second Doctor. That's all missing, which is a shame. We're missing a lot of good content for those early episodes.
It's a miracle we have the studio recordings of them to allow for these reconstructions to happen.
That is true, including the Second Doctor's first serial. That was missing for a long time until it got reconstructed.
And that was a good one.
That's a good one. Even though the Second Doctor is just kind of weird in that one.
Yeah,
they didn't hammer out his character yet.
Right, yeah. No, I definitely thought he was kind of weird, but overall the story was great.
Yes, the story's great. So they've been kidnapped, basically. The group's been kidnapped. And the first Doctor, as he's called, we just call him the Doctor, though. But he's just like, I've got a solution, and I'm not gonna...
I'm gonna prove to you that this is a spaceship that can travel through time by activating it.
Yeah, but the best part is, he's just like, all right, I'll let you go. Then he doesn't bother telling anybody that what he's actually gonna do is just throw them back in time.
There is like one point where Ian searches for the controls to open the doors.
Oh yeah, and he gets electrified.
Because the Doctor is cheeky. And Susan tries to warn him about it.
Yeah, don't touch it, it's live. Yeah. And it's just like, you're an asshole, Doc. And he's like, oh yeah, don't call me Doc. That is a thing that's later on in the series.
Yeah, we'll get to that shortly.
Oh, Steven. But yeah, so they're thrown back in time, and it's the first time that the TARDIS is moving, and a lot of the special effects, honestly, the special effects and the music is incredible, even for the early series, to the point where the TARDIS sound effect, they've used it.
I don't think they've ever changed it.
They've never changed it. They've slightly modified it, and what they did, actually, for the TARDIS sound effect, is they had a standing piano case where they had all the piano strings hooked up, but it wasn't like connected to a keyboard. What they did was they took a car key and they ran it on the lowest string, and they would scrape the car key up and down, and then they would use that as the bass, and then they would heavily modify it. So that's what the TARDIS is. It's a car key scraping against a piano string.
Yeah, it's strange when you think about these iconic sound effects from like pop culture, and you find the like weirdest ways that they came about it. Like say Godzilla's roar was like a
what was it? A glove?
It was a glove covered with pine tar, scraped across a tar string.
Oh yeah, okay. And then, of course, you got the theme song, which, for its time, nobody had ever heard before. Like, this is one of the first pieces of proper electronic music.
Like, it's astounding that the bass line of it is just one note modulated across the whole thing.
Yeah, so the original theme was written by an Australian man, I believe, named Ron Granier, who had composed the theme, but didn't conduct it or arrange it.
That was Delia Derbyshire, who sadly does not get credited early on.
No, and what they did was they used one of the very early synthesizers that they had, and they would play one note, and what they did was they would take the tape, they would play the note, they would cut the tape, they would put it into like a... This was at the time when like 4 tracks were just becoming a thing. And so the BBC music studio was like state of the art back then. Like you could not find some of the shit that they had until much later in the 60s. And they would cut these tapes together, and they all handcrafted this music bit by bit. And you can tell that it's all like cut together. But when it's put together, it's amazing. The Doctor Who theme is just iconic.
It's a very haunting theme,
and I don't think it's ever been outdone. I mean, there's the Peter Howell 1980s version, which
that occasionally gets stuck in my head.
That one's iconic for different reasons. There's the '87 Sylvester McCoy version, and then there's the Goldman, I think his name is. There's the 2000s themes, which is Eccleston, Tennant, etc., which are all slightly different variations of one another up until Matt Smith, which he gets his own theme, and then there's Capaldi gets his own theme, Whittaker gets his own theme, and
her own theme.
Her own theme, and then Nkuti Gatwa gets his own theme as well, which is a callback to the 80s version. So they've used the same bass theme for 60 years now. 62 years.
Like, don't fix what ain't broken, really.
Yeah, don't fix what ain't broken. They've had different The original theme, they kept the original theme until 1980. That's how iconic it was. They would modify it. Like the second Doctor, they added sort of an echo and like a wind chimes effect, you know what I mean? Third Doctor had a stutter at the beginning of it, and then they got rid of that later on. And the Fourth Doctor is probably the most iconic opening out of all of them, because it has the tunnel and Tom Baker's face showing up, and then his face gets cut out by the logo. Listen, the intros to Doctor Who are very intricate. They're very interesting for the time period. Definitely take the chance to have a look at them.
Yeah, I've been picking up some of the Blu-rays, and some of them have like just the opening and closing credit sequences. I've just been like both listening and watching. It's like, oh, this is fantastic.
Okay, we're 42 minutes in, and we're just at the end of the first episode. So they get thrown back in time, and that starts the second episode, which is basically Ian
the Cave of Skulls.
The Cave of Skulls, which is basically...
Unfortunately, this is where the story kind of...
This is where the story falls apart.
Yeah! Like, the first episode is fantastic. The remaining 3 episodes, not so much.
Not so much. But, it's in the second episode that we're introduced to the other principal characters, which is...
Of the story.
Of the story, at least, which is...
We got Cal, who is the son of the former leader of the caveman tribe.
Nope. Zaz.
No, Cal is the...
Cal is? Oh, okay.
Zaz is the survivor of another tribe.
Okay. So Zaz the outsider who's come in and has sort of been adopted by this group.
And he's on track to become the new leader because Cal can't make fire because his dad never showed him how.
And then, of course, there's Horg, who's the older guy who's...
I don't know if he actually got mentioned by name in this story.
I don't think he ever gets mentioned by name.
I remember his daughter, Her.
Yep. That's her name, Her. There's Za the outsider, there's Cal the leader, there's Her the wife, the to-be wife.
The love interest.
The love interest of both Za and Cal. There's the old mother, who is portrayed by Aileen Way.
I thought she was just the old woman.
Yeah, no, it's old. Yeah, they call her Old Woman, but her name is Old Mother in the script. And then there's Horg, who is Her's father. Does that make sense? Don't worry, it literally does not matter, because most of these...
We'll only really be talking about Cal, Za, and Her.
That's really it, but Horg is older because he knew Cal's father. He was old enough to remember Cal's father. And so did the old mother.
Yeah, but... when we get introduced to Cal and the rest of the tribe, he's rubbing a bone between his hands, trying to call forth fire.
Yeah.
While the old woman's like, "That you shouldn't be trying to call forth fire." And Cal's like, "My dad knew how to make fire, and he never taught me." And the old woman's like, "Yeah, that's why they killed him, because he could make fire. They killed him because he could make fire. Don't learn to make fire." But it's getting cold!
But it's cold! Any great Horg...
It's getting a bit nippy!
It's getting a bit nippy, and the orbs in the sky won't show us how to do it. Damn it, I'm doing it myself!
Now give me that bone!
More ashes. More ashes.
Just put the ashes on there! The dead fire will make it work!
God damn it, it's like... You know what it is? It's like... This salad isn't done enough. Put in more garlic. Put in more varnish. God damn it. More!
So he's got the right idea. He's just using the wrong ingredients.
So yeah, and what he's doing is he's not rubbing the bone into the wood. What instead he's doing is he's hovering over it and just rubbing the bones with his hand.
So like he at some point saw his dad rubbing a stick, assumed it was a bone, thought that the rolling it in the hands was the important part, and not the friction. And
yeah, not the friction. Which
like as a modern person, you can see what he's trying to do and how colossally he's failing to understand it.
It's just, oh no, that's not how you. Oh no, that's not how you do things. So anyway, on the outside, then we have the Doctor, we have Barbara, we have Ian, and we have Susan, who are now exploring this strange place.
And they're being observed by Za, who has witnessed the box just appear.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, what ends up happening is... So, interesting thing about the Doctor here, he used to be a smoker, apparently.
It doesn't come up much outside of this one story because he pulls out a pipe and matches to get a smoke, and Zah's like, fire! This guy knows how to make fire!
I'm going to kidnap him!
I'm going to kidnap him and he'll teach me how to make fire!
Listen, guys, this guy came out of a weird tree. Listen, I know I sound crazy. I know I sound crazy, but these guys came out of a weird tree, and I saw one of them make fire.
Came right from his fingers!
Came right from his fingers. It was pretty badass, actually.
And he's going to teach me how to make fire!
He'll teach me how to make fire. Then I'll be leader. And Cal's just like,
no! No!
no!
That's what I was going for!
It has to be me! I am the one who makes the fire!
So basically the principal conflict of this whole story beyond the first episode is two guys want to learn how to make fire, but neither wants the other to know how to make fire.
Two guy be leader, two guy won't be leader. One only be leader, one get wife. Ugh, ugh. Sorry.
I mean, it's pretty accurate.
That is pretty accurate in caveman terms. But, so Zah is like, make fire for me! Make fire for me!
I don't have my matches, I can't make fire!
And Cal and the others are just like, you're off!
Phony!
Yeah, hey guys, this guy's a phony! A big fat phony! Kill him! And then Ian and Barbara and Susan all show up, and they get captured, basically.
They get put in the Cave of Skulls. Which is the episode is named for.
Take him to Detroit. No! No, God! No, not Detroit! Sorry. What is that? That's UFI, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's one of those weird 80s movies that's like a parody of everything.
UHF?
What?
No.
I
I don't remember that from UHF.
Yeah, it might have been from UHF. I can't remember. But, or it could have been Kentucky Fried Movie.
That sounds more likely because I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I have seen UHF. Don't remember that line.
Anyways, so they're captured. They're in the cave. And the old mother is just like, nope, stop trying to learn fire, folks. Stop it.
Let's see. Now we're on episode 3, which is what?
I forget what the episode's called. but...
I mean, I'm definitely going to have the title card up here for this section.
I think it's like The Escape or something like that.
No, it's like Forest of Fear.
Forest of Fear, that's what it is. There's Unearthly Child, there's The Cave of Skulls, The Forest of Fear, and The Firemaker. It's 4 episodes long, and we're 50 minutes in, and we're only on episode 3.
I mean, granted, we spent over 40 minutes talking about the first episode.
Which is very important. I mean, as we should.
And like I said, the rest of the story just kind of plays out, and it's like,
Yeah.
But anyway, the old mother steals a knife and frees the TARDIS crew.
Yeah, and she's just like, you will not make fire. You will go away. You fuck off to where you came from. Get the fuck out.
We don't want your advanced technology. Go.
Go away.
Don't teach anybody your secrets.
We do not want you to stay a while and listen. Go away.
I kind of like how this story could be interpreted as fire being brought to the masses, except for the fact that it already existed.
It already existed.
There were, like, the fact that Cal's father knew how to make fire proved that this is at best them reintroducing how to make fire.
Yes, it is fire being taught to the next generation, which never got taught because Cal's father got killed for it. So basically, the older generation is afraid of fire. The newer generation is like, but we need it. We're gonna die if we don't make fire. And the older generation is just like, these fucking younglings, this goddamn next generation, they're so fucking lazy thinking they need fire.
Wait, are we sure this is a story about cave people?
God damn it. Shit. Shit, we accidentally made an allegory for boomers and millennials and Gen Z. Damn it. Fuck. How do we segue from this? They escape. That's it. Quick, To the forest!
And
To the TARDIS-mobile! Sorry.
Now, her, having witnessed the old mother leaving, wakes Za.
I'm sorry, but To the TARDIS-mobile is basically how every Doctor Who story ends. When it's like a chase. It's like, quick, to the Doctor-mobile! There's a car later on in the series called the Who-mobile, which is
God damn it.
fucking hilarious.
I feel like I should have known that.
Yes, it's the third Doctor because he's the fucking James Bond of the series.
It's like the one I'm least familiar with.
Yeah, dude, it's
outside of the seventh.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So they make an escape, and Za and her are like, oh shit, they escaped.
We're gonna go after them.
The old woman set them free. Let's go after them. And of course, then there's Za, and then there's there's Za. So it's Cal and her. They escape.
No, Za and her.
Sorry, yes, Za and her. And then Cal goes to the cave and is like, "Old woman, you set them free. You die." Shanks her to death. And it's just like, all right.
Here's my story.
Here's my plan.
Za cut them free. Then murdered the old woman.
Who was good? That's what happened.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I'm beat you to it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I plead the fifth. So we're in the forest, and they're being chased. But then
Za gets attacked by some nondescript animal.
Probably a saber-toothed tiger.
Possibly. We never actually see it. That's kind of how cheap it is. Like the most we see of anything that isn't human or plant life is a dead boar head that the TARDIS crew come across.
That Barbara and Susan absolutely lose their goddamn minds over. And of course, then there's the Doctor and Ian, and Ian's just like, I'm not letting you out of my sight. Here's what's gonna happen. All right, you take point. Susan goes behind you, and then Barbara, and then I'm taking behind, and I'm watching your ass. And if you try to fucking lose us,
it's like, I could complain about this, but you're not wrong.
Yeah,
let's go.
Let's go. He's just like, God, very well, I suppose. Because for the Doctor at this point, it's all about survival, and he's just like, no, fuck off, leave me alone.
I'm old and crotchety.
I'm old.
I'm old and set in my ways.
Call an ambulance. Call an ambulance. But
it's
not
zero.
But not for me. So Za gets attacked, and Barbara,
against the Doctor's better judgment, Ian and the others decide to help him.
Yes. Except for the Doctor is not really like happy about this, to the point where he
contemplates murder.
Yes, that's pretty much it. He grabs a rock.
Like, wow, that is so out of character.
He grabbed a rock on the ground, and like Ian catches him holding the rock, and it's like, what are you planning on doing?
Nothing untoward.
I was hoping that they could draw us a map. Yes, a map.
So we can get back to the TARDIS.
Nothing else. Yes. Nothing else. And it's at this point where Za and her essentially learn the concept of friendship, because Ian introduces himself as friend.
And they just assume that that's his name.
That's his name.
The rest of the
friend. So they're introduced to the concept of friendship, but also compassion and helping one another. And so that is something that they eventually spread to the others in the tribe.
You make all these grand hand gestures as though you're explaining it to a cave person.
Listen. Friends help one another.
You're like trying to do sign language to a bunch of cave people.
When the tribe is many, I'm raising my hand in a symbol of 4 from the ground. Like, when the tribe is many, they are not alone. They help.
Interlocked against fingers.
They interlock.
And clench against fists into one fist.
They help one another. The tribe is many, but an individual is one.
Now he's giving me the finger.
Yeah, go for
No,
it.
not that finger.
Oh.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. That's the one. No, the rendered mansion. Yeah, that's the one.
You son of a bitch! You guys got me watching those.
Yes, I know. Side thing. There's a really old Flash series on Newgrounds, which is Resident Evil Flash Edition, which is like from like 15, 20 years ago.
I want to say 20.
It's like 20 years old, and it's just a riff on the opening of Resident Evil, But
then the Bentley brothers.
and then the Bentley Brothers one, which is also like 20 years old. It's like from the dawn.
It's like from around the same time that it was definitely post Resident Evil 4 because I did one of that, which I also.
It was around like.
God damn the memories.
Yeah, it was around 2007, 2008. This was like right at the early period of YouTube, like really early. This was like when AVGN was on like Screw Attack.
Yeah, I don't even know if YouTube existed yet. Mm-hmm. It was that early.
Listen, Newgrounds is fucking old. It's like 25 years old, I think.
I'm pretty sure it's older.
It might even be. It might be early 2000s.
Like I actually was recently watching a Wang video where he mentioned it was like the 90s when that first popped up.
Yeah.
I
So
think it
anyways.
was a Wang video. Maybe it was...
Anyways, sorry. I don't know how we... Oh, yes, the Bentley Brothers, right. The Bentley Brothers in Resident Evil Flash Edition. Because I made the rendered mansion.
Right.
Yes. No, the scary mansion. Yeah, that's the one. So, Ian, Barbara, Susan, and the doctor, they don't put a tourniquet on him, really. What they do is they put him on a stretcher, like a handmade stretcher. And they try to carry him to the doctor, but alas, they've been caught!
They tried to carry him to the TARDIS, but
Yes.
Cal has mobilized the forces, and now they have been ambushed before they can reach the TARDIS, which leads us into the final episode, the Firemaker.
Yes, and so everyone's brought back, and they're interrogated. And
It's like, you killed the old woman. No, I didn't. You did it with this knife! That knife doesn't have any blood on it.
yeah, so the doctor, he's smarter than everybody. He's also a master detective. He's like, this knife has no blood on it.
Also, it's not a very good knife. It can't cut anything.
Now, this knife is very good. This knife can cut stuff. That knife, it's better than your knife.
It's your knife. No, it's not! And he whips out the knife covered in blood. It's like, that knife has blood on it. Ah, shit.
You killed the old woman. And he was like, yes, she set them free. So I, Cal, kill him. Drive him out. He's a murderer.
They start throwing stones at him.
They start throwing, because Ian is like, follow my lead. Drive him out. The tribe is strong. Cal is one.
And he tries to impress upon Zod the importance of everybody working together, showing them the tribe together is stronger than Cal.
Yes.
Is as an individual.
Cal is not stronger than the tribe, which essentially is the beginnings of community, and not necessarily that the leader has to do everything. It's more like, if we work together, we can achieve our dreams.
Imagination.
Oh shit, you know what this story really is about? It's about the friends we make along the way.
Ah, god damn it!
Fuck this story. God damn it. We're leaving.
You know, fun fact, I've been rewatching Kaizo Sentai Gokaiger.
Yeah?
And, like, one of the big parts of them is that they're trying to collect all these greater powers of the past Super Sentai teams in order to locate the ultimate the greatest treasure. And I got to the episode where they find it, and, like, the entire time we were hoping, oh god, I hope it wasn't the friends we made along the way. Turns out it wasn't. So it's like, oh, thank god. That would have been stupid.
Right?
No, it turns out it was, like, just an incredibly awesome power. It just, like, if they had used it, it would have erased all the past Sentai and all their good work. So it's like, nah, that's not a good trade-off for us.
So,
next.
So pretty much what happens is that the group gets put back into the Cave of Skulls, and Zot is like to one of his subordinates, he's like, you stay outside this.
You watch this other exit. We're going to put a boulder in front of the main exit so that they can't escape. Because we know that this cave has 2 exits. The old woman told us.
Yes. And so,
before she died.
Yes, before she died. So Cal is driven out.
I love how when... Getting back to the second episode, I love how Cal's explanation for for knowing about that Za killed him was like, I had a dream.
I had a dream.
I had a dream that Za killed the old woman.
Hear me out.
Hear me out.
Hear me out.
It's like, no, that checks out. Proceed no further. This checks out.
God damn it! He's a dreamweaver. We must believe every word he says. Certainly, he has no malicious intentions.
He has no ulterior motives.
No, absolutely not. But so
we don't even understand the concept of ulterior motives.
So essentially, to sort of kind of break it down, is that Za meets the group, and he basically goes, "Listen, here's what's up. I think you guys are a tribe, are members of a tribe from the other side of the mountain. Now, if you help me make fire, I'll let you go and go back to the other side of the mountain. If you help me out." And so they're like, well, I mean, shit, we might as well take the deal.
But they make fire independently. They're like, God, it's cold in here.
Yeah, it's like...
Make a fire.
Make a fire for us.
Give me a bunch of this stuff. Okay. Za, he's witnessing the fire being made. He's like, huh, so that's how you do it.
Ah, so that's how you do it.
Oh.
But,
I see.
And it's like, but... And they explain to him, we can all make fire.
It's like, in our time... The fire maker is the least important person.
In our tribe, the fire maker is the least important position because everyone makes fire. And Za's just like, what kind of fucking magic is this? Whoa!
Look, take this torch and show everybody that we can make fire. Okay? That'll solidify your role as leader.
And so he shows them fire, and then Horg, the old man, is just like, wait! I remember now! This just came to me, not in a dream, but from an old memory. There used to be a time when we had fire, and we would mix meat in the fire together. Let us commence a feast!
And they do feed the TARDIS crew, but they keep them trapped in the cave.
And so Za is like, listen, we have fire now. Let us gather a group of men, work together, kill a great beast, bring it back here, and feed our people. And thus society has been built.
When are you going to let us out of this cave?
As it turns out, I'm not going to let you out. I'm actually just gonna kill you. Now, because you know how to make fire.
And if I kill you who know how to make fire, I'll be the only one who knows how to make fire. And thus I will retain leadership.
So,
I'm going to excuse me while I step outside.
And so what actually happens also is that Cal comes back,
right?
And he kills the guard, and then he comes in, and so both he and Za have
I forgot they fight in this.
Yeah, they fight in this, and Cal gets killed, rather brutally actually. Because
I mean, it happens off screen, but he lifts that, but Za lifts that rock up pretty high.
Yeah, I think what happens is he gets stabbed, and then he gets his head bashed in.
Right.
And so, Cal's dead.
I'm gonna go take Cal and show everybody that I killed him, thus permanently establishing my leadership. Don't try to run away.
So while all that's happening,
Susan was like, if we put the skulls on it, it almost looks alive. And Doctor's like, no, it almost looks dead. Quick, put skulls on torches. We'll stick them in the ground, make them think we're dying, and then flee.
And now that the guard's dead, we can escape. And so...
This plan is foolproof. And it turns out to be.
Yeah, it turns out to be almost foolproof, if not for the fact that the skulls had fallen.
It's like, wait, no, these are just skulls on sticks. What the fuck?
What the
They're
fuck?
escaping!
They're escaping! After them! And of course, the TARDIS crew, they make their escape. They get into the TARDIS just in time. And they flee as the tribe witnesses the TARDIS disappearing. And they're like, what? What? Wait. We're just going to pretend this is a bad
I'm going to call this Zeus.
Yes, this is what it is. It's the sun gods. Yes. It's the orbs. Orbs brought down fire for us.
Zeus!
But they're not even Greek. I don't care. It's Zeus. God damn it, worship him or
write that down somewhere so that when the Greeks rise, they'll find this and be like, oh, that's the guy we gotta.
That's the guy. That's the man. Yes. That's the man, Zeus. Yes. That's the one who's brought us civilization.
Oh, it'll be a while before we actually get to that joke being relevant.
The myth makers? Yeah. No kidding. So that is an Unearthly Child. The ending scene, of course, is as they land, and the doctor is just
Susan, check out the radiation detector. See if it's okay for us to step out. It's like, no, that's fine.
It's fine. Okay, let's go. And that's how it ends. And of course, the next serial becomes probably the most
important.
Yes, most important, and the one with the most far-reaching
consequences
throughout the entire lore of Doctor Who.
But that's a story for another day.
Oh yes. So that's an Unearthly Child. What would you rate the serial?
If we're rating just the first episode, I'd give it like an 8.
Yeah.
But if we have to do the whole serial, it's like 6.
Yeah, the whole serial's like a 6. It's not a good way to start, and the next 5 serials actually are like miles ahead of it. Like, I'm not a big fan. Actually, no, that's not true. I actually really like Keys Emeritus, but the Aztecs and the Daleks and the Edge of Destruction are all like fantastic in my opinion. Really highly.
And then Marco Polo's in there somewhere.
Yes, Marco Polo's in there. Unfortunately, we don't have the full serial, but we'll do an episode on that.
Yeah, I mean, like we mentioned, pretty much all of the lost episodes at least have audio recordings, actually, which is how we get the reconstructions and the animated versions.
That's true. Marco Polo is actually the only one that's fully missing.
At least of the first season.
Mm-hmm. Like the French Revolution, there's some episodes.
Reign of Terror.
The French Revolution, Reign of Terror.
Also, that's an interesting bookend, how the first episode foreshadows the final story of the season.
Yes, it's actually rather clever. Because by that point, I think they had by the end of it, I think they had everything laid out where they were going to go with it. But, it's like a 6 out of 10, the first serial. An Unearthly Child is definitely, like a 6.5, I think. It's a very average story, and if it was just the first episode, and then we immediately go into the Daleks, maybe.
I mean, yeah, but
we'd also be missing a lot of character development for the Doctor.
Look, I get why this story was picked. It establishes that this is a time-traveling ship.
Yep. It's also the only one that was ready.
Well, it was the cheapest to make.
It
looks like it.
Yeah. Doctor Who is not known for being the most...
especially not at that point, no.
It's not known for being the most high budget.
At least not yet.
Not yet. I mean, yeah. It doesn't get high budget until the movie. Which is really saying something.
Of course, then the question becomes, which movie?
The first telemovie. And we're not talking about the 60s movies either. Which is a whole other can of worms that I don't know.
So wait, are you saying we'll never cover them, or is that just a topic for another day?
That's just a topic for another day.
Okay.
Because
I'm at least curious about those movies.
That is... Okay.
Those Peter Cushing movies.
Yes, the Peter Cushing 60s movies, not to put too fine a point on it, is really just the Americans trying to Americanize Doctor Who. And doing it spectacularly poorly. Although, that being said, Doctor Who and the Daleks in that movie end up being the primary look for the Daleks for the rest of the series. To
be fair, it was the first colored version of them.
Well, not just that. It's the Daleks from the serial.
This is stuff we could probably talk more about when we actually cover the next story.
Long story short, the Daleks from the serial, the next serial that we're going to be talking about, is slightly different from the movie, but the one from the movie becomes the iconic look and it formulates the rest of the serials. So, Unearthly Child, what's your favorite scene?
Like, just the whole first episode.
Just the whole first episode, probably.
Like,
yeah.
I think the whole first episode is incredibly solid. And I'm having a really hard time picking any one moment from that first episode.
I think, in my opinion, my favorite scene will actually be the scene in the forest when they're helping Za, because it establishes a couple of key character moments for the Doctor in that he's not necessarily the most trustworthy. We shouldn't trust the Doctor, and he does have ulterior motives most of the time. So
until he doesn't.
Even then, he's still not necessarily the most trustworthy.
Until he is.
Yeah.
But that's like a whole can of worms with regards to different actors.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Favorite character?
The Doctor.
I mean, it kind of has to be the Doctor.
It's like, for as much of an asshole as he comes across during this story, he is the one who is the most right.
That is true.
It's like, everything he's worried is going to happen ends up happening.
He's the one who drives the plot in the first 3 serials, essentially.
Yeah.
Because he's the one who is the most problematic out of all of them. He causes all the problems. I swear to God.
You're not wrong.
So, that being said, this is a pretty good part to end with, and we end on a cliffhanger, of course, leading into what could possibly happen to these people.
But we'll see when we get around to that.
And of course, this has been another edition of ProtoBalls Talk Through Time and Space.
I'm ProtoMet.
I'm Barry.
See ya.
Goodbye.